this happen to you?
And why do bad things happen to good people? That's the real question, right? Why us? I mean, that's really what everybody wants to know. I moved into the house because it's what we so desperately needed at that time. We didn't ask for this. And we didn't deserve it. The fact is, I don't know why this happened to us. Regular family like anybody else. The doctors didn't believe that he would survive, and anyone who's had a sick child would understand the feeling that you're losing your grasp on them, and something's pulling them from you, which is really what was happening in that house. Please, God, don't make him suffer. Please make him.
You don't hear that. Talking to yourself is the first sign of losing it.
I was not talking to myself. I was talking to God.
Well, threatening create universes like step 2. You can't be good.
I was not threatened. I was simply letting you know how precious you are to me.
You got it. I'm going to be sick.
Very funny.
No, seriously, I'm going to be sick. Just don't look, Mom, okay? I'm alright. Good morning. I didn't come in last night. What time did you get home?
I'm 4.
Jesus. It was a long way.
You really want to know how many times we stopped so we got vomit?
I was in there.
It's alright.
God.
Just sleeping.
Let me get breakfast. Go to bed.
It's okay. I'm just helping out. Good morning, Edson. Good morning, too. Sorry about the chaos. It's been in my house. Take this into the 100.
It's not good. It's night you drive off the road and I'm so tired.
I wish we could just move there.
I don't need time to pay mortgage and rent. I'm taking Wendy and Mary.
One of them's a built-in babysitter, and the other one's a little angel.
Every penny we have is some kind of business. We didn't plan on it.
Nobody plans on having a child with cancer.
You know that's right. Let's just do it. Let's get my house in Connecticut into the hospital.
But what are you going to do? How are we going to afford it?
I can come up and get a second mortgage on a second mortgage.
We're going to make it through this, right?
Definitely.
It may well get burned and red. You blister like a bad something.
Twice.
Well, it's the cells dying and being reborn. Basically, we're waging a war inside Matt's body. The battle's just begun.
That's what I'm afraid of.
But he qualified for the study, Sarah. You did the right thing by bringing him.
You asking?
I'll give you the first month free if I don't have to finish hammering in this darn sign.
What I do?
Just need some love and care and a good family to bring it back up.
Kill my children.
You'd be without them.
Spacious and affordable. Just wondering, where's the catch?
Well, that's a bit of an issue.
I saw one that was almost perfect, but it just wasn't right. They said you'd have body aches, but no nausea.
Doctor says to patient, I've got bad news. You've got cancer. And you've got Alzheimer's. Patient says, "Ooh. At least I don't have cancer."
You won't lose your hair again.
Well, that's something.
I brought a mattress you can put on the floor.
I can't thank you enough.
Really, don't worry. Here's the keys.
Is the heat on?
It's really warm in there. But you get in and settle. I'll take this.
He was so sick. And I like this place. It's really neat. Well, I need an executive decision. He was in so much pain. I just couldn't put him to rest the mind.
Oh, fucking shit.
Yeah, it's just a doctor.
Pick of the house. Okay, any bedroom you want? Drink this. They're not that bad. Cheers.
Tell yourself that. Right. You ever had one?
Hey, Alan. I've been thinking.
This episode of The Bear is presented by Whole Foods Market.
With hundreds of sales every week and low prices store-wide, you can eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
What? What? What'd you say? What? What'd you say? What'd you say? What? What? Stop it. We gotta go faster, shit. What? We gotta go faster. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm just saying, during service, you're gonna get lifted off this table, and I'm just gonna be up here alone.
Searching for the simplest way to treat ED? HIMS can help. You'll start by answering some basic questions, 100% online. Then a provider will review your information and determine if treatment is right for you, without an in-person visit. If prescribed, your order ships discreetly to your door for free. Access to care with no insurance, no doctor's offices, and no pharmacy. This is ED treatment made simple. Start today at HIMS.com.
It's a show?
It's a lifestyle.
It's a religion.
I love you, you idiot!
Well, I am all in.
This is gonna work. Please, chefs, I need communicated from 20, 30, I just for fucking stop. Come on, everybody, hands, please.
I'm getting.
Okay, guys, please, can we watch our volume? I realize that I lost feeling. What's quieter? Yeah.
Chef, too.
What? What is this? For what? Jess, are you aware of this?
Surprise from Richard.
We weren't aware, so you have to go through us.
Did you ask?
Okay, but we didn't know, so you have to tell us. Dude.
I understand. Yes.
See, we're down another wacky. Oh, shit. Yes. Luca, can you please come over and help out? Thank you, Luca. We need guys to be so
Michelle, just so you're aware, I'm gonna start pouring a little less because
Yeah, great. I love that. Thank you.
3 tables like 5 minutes ago. Yo, we gotta go sprint mode.
Yeah, okay,
Sprint mode.
volume down.
Yeah, I got you.
We're real close to being caught up, John. Ready? And the 6:30s are gonna be late too.
I'm not gonna pull any punches. It's getting spicy out there. We're good though. We're good. Yo, cousin, what's up with the white girl? What's there?
Volume down and the verbals can't. You gotta go through us. We need to know.
I'm just trying to hurry.
Okay, I appreciate it. I'm also trying to
I don't know what to tell you.
all of us are behind. I'm leaving this kitchen. I need you.
I don't want to get into an ego thing with you. I don't have the time for that right now. I
Dude,
can't.
I'm sorry that I spoke over you. Please don't speak over me. Dude.
Okay, is this fighting? Is this nice?
I think this is organization.
Okay, okay.
Communication.
Hurt. Shout. I'm sorry. 7 is dragging. 7 is dragging.
7 is right. We will do our best to be better at wagging for you, okay?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, burgundy, right? That's good. Oh, yes. How we doing here?
Hey, good. I'm just trying to so appreciate your staying up a little bit longer. So appreciate it.
Yes, tremendous. Dr. Cahill, we are going to get you seated for this special anniversary dinner very, very soon.
How'd you know our name?
Tell me the secrets of 25 years of marriage, and I'll tell you my secret. Just bear with us one more second. Look here.
What the fuck is up with the rain? Is it 3 or 4 more
Minutes, inches.
Okay, hey, Donald, what are you gonna do about this?
Oh, we're going to create a table.
Precision has sound. Mastery has rhythm. This is where performance begins. This is where legacy is born. Thermidor. Performance like no one else.
Meet Ring's all-new lineup of cutting-edge battery doorbells. See every detail with your choice of Retinal 4K or 2K, even in the dark with True Color Night Vision. With crisp clarity and battery flexibility at your door, it's protected. Shop now at Ring.com.
This is Naomi. She just discovered the sweet sound of earning and saving money. Thanks to free shipping, she spent even less on these pre-loved boots. And by selling some of her clothes that she doesn't wear, with 0 selling fees, she earned the cash to buy it. Don't wear it, sell it.
You're in danger. You gotta come with me. What? I don't know if you're the real Spider-Man. Fine. And I promised you that I would keep you safe. What am I supposed to say?
Brand new day, beginning July 31st.
1 minute, Chef.
Chef Sydney, ready for you.
Welcome, Jess. Yes, shut. Walking 10, 20, 30. Who's on Starman?
I am. You got this?
Let's move. Let's go.
Thank you.
As promised. Beautiful prawn.
This summer at KFC, the sequel you've craved is here. The Colonel's famous popcorn chicken has returned. Spoiler alert, no piece survives. Popcorn chicken is back at KFC. Get a bucket for just $10. Get poppin' today.
Welcome to Standing Out. Welcome to Mercedes-Benz. The Welcome Home celebration going on now. This is Wisteria Lane, where there are secrets in every housewife's perfect life. What happens if... Too soft, too soft. Too strong.
There, soft and strong, perfectly balanced. Angel soft.
What do we see when we think of the West? A gunfight between some small town sheriff and a gang of outlaws? Maybe a cowboy playing his banjo under the stars, or a wild herd of buffalo hunted by a party of Comanche or Lakota. For me, it's an image from a movie I saw at the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood when I was just 7 years old. A birch bark canoe skimming across a mirrored lake, guided by a man who knows he's free, living by his wits, answering to no one. Whatever we see, the West has a power like nowhere else to fire the imagination and stir the soul. But if we choose to look a little closer, we can see beyond these images to another kind of story. Of people who come to make a home, no matter who's already there. Of a nation that claims an entire continent, no matter what the cost. And of a land that shows us
Who are you
bounty,
talking to?
yet all too often gives us blood. These stories will captivate us, inspire us, and shock us. And that's why we have to tell them. Because though the United States was founded in the East, the country we know today was forged in the West.
People live on myths. And the myths that really stick in the American experience are the myths of the West. The mountains were taller, the deserts were harsher, the snows were deeper.
American West conjures wonder, possibility, opportunity.
The figure of the mountain man.
Notorious outlaws.
The cowboy.
The discovery of gold in California.
This train of wagons trailing across the prairie.
Everybody has a reason for wanting this land.
But most of that land
Was already occupied.
We have been residents for more than 10,000 years.
This is a clash of two different ways of seeing life itself. Fighting for the security of the homeland on the one side, and fighting for the destiny of the new republic on the other side.
The history of the West is a creation story. It's a creation of what we think of as modern America.
And
The
the
West
crazy
is a
thing
place
is,
where anything is possible.
like, most of that space is like.
It is the essence of the American dream.
The core of this is what are we to be as a nation? The reckoning is coming.
the West is this canvas on which American dreams become larger than life.
The final shots of the Revolutionary War mark a new era for Britain's former colonies. The United States wins not only independence, but a vast tract of new land. A place they call the West.
The United States, of course, when it is founded, is on the East Coast and really no farther than the Appalachian Mountains. And then in the Treaty of Paris that settled the Revolutionary War in 1783, the British cede all their holdings from the East Coast all the way to the Mississippi River. America are euphoric because they've not only defeated the British, but the British have ceded this enormous sweep of land in the bargain.
Most of that land is not the United States in reality. It was already occupied by scores of Indian nations and by millions of Indian people. The suggestion that this was somehow a wilderness or an uninhabited virgin land is one of the most enduring and troubling fallacies in American history.
There were already relatively stable trade relationships between the various indigenous nations with the British, but settlers didn't just want to trade and leave. They wanted to stay.
To live on a piece of land has been a dream all over the world forever. These Anglo-Americans who've been hemmed in on the Atlantic side of the Appalachians, suddenly the war has been won. This immense territory has been granted to the United States, and there's a deep desire to go out into this fertile land.
But where so many settlers see opportunity, some of the founding fathers see risk.
Benjamin Franklin had calculated that the American population is doubling roughly once per generation. If this is the case, and if most of them are farmers, you got to double the size of the United States about every generation. Here's the question for Washington. Where are we going to expand into?
Washington has two major concerns with regard to this new land. The first is about security.
the British were still on the border. But the greater risk is from the enthusiasm of the American settlers themselves. They see this as free land. They don't want to pay for it.
There's no playbook for George Washington. No one had done this before. He knows that he is setting a precedent for the future. And that's an enormous pressure on him. I mean, the country's population is expanding continually, and the West is so important.
What he fears is that settlers are just going to put down their claims wherever they want, and in a willy-nilly anarchic fashion, trampling on the interests of native peoples who are out there and creating conflict with those native peoples.
By the mid-1780s, armed settlers have already blazed a trail west, from Virginia into Kentucky, forcing the Shawnee and the Delaware off their homeland. Before they can push any further, Congress lays down new laws to govern the land above the Ohio River and gives this region a name, the Northwest Territory.
The year that the Constitution was written, 1787, the Northwest Ordinance is passed by the Congress.
Ooh.
And the Northwest Ordinance says emphatically that the Americans have a duty to show the utmost good faith to the indigenous people and not to take their lands without due compensation and without actual negotiation.
And so the idea is for the U.S. to buy lands from the Indians and then sell it in very large chunks to these essentially aristocrats and land speculators. And the theory is this is going to work really easily. George Washington is thinking once the Indian tribes see the superior ways of white civilization and agriculture, they'll immediately take it up. And so they'll be happy to just sell those lands to us and, become white farmers, essentially.
Early American capitalists, politicians, people of means hoped to petition the government, get tens of thousands of acres in order to sell it to small-time landholders, understanding that they don't yet control that land.
By contrast, many settlers have a mind of their own. They want land and they want it now and they want it as cheaply as possible and something for free.
Despite all of Washington's plans, some settlers see this new land as the spoils of war, and are not afraid to take it.
Many of the people who come out here are squatters. They're ahead of the law. They're ahead of legal right. They're not to be blamed necessarily because they're fulfilling their own dream of happiness. But they go out and they find a little clearing or build a farm.
When people saw the American West as opportunity, the Indians were nowhere in that picture, except as something to overcome. What we have to keep reminding ourselves is this was their land.
The Northwest Territory is already home to at least 50,000 Native Americans from more than a dozen tribes, including the Delaware, the Shawnee, the Wyandot, and the Miami.
So from the settlement of the French and Indian War all the way through the American Revolution and into the 1780s, this region is embroiled in an ongoing conflict. Native peoples across the Ohio River Valley are increasingly incensed that the American settlers are flooding into their homelands.
For the indigenous people, it's an ancestral claim. For the settlers, it's free land, the opportunity to strike out on one's own. Both are willing to fight and to die for it.
With the late 1780s bring an onslaught of settlers, these native nations will not only make a stand. Miami leader, Little Turtle, will lead them into war.
Once the skirmish starts, it's going to build until somebody suffers enough to stop.
Welcome to Fitting In. Welcome to Standing Out. Welcome to A Helping Hand. Welcome to the world of Mercedes-Benz. Experience the incomparable luxury and tech for yourself with great offers on the GLC during the Welcome Home celebration.
I'm disabled, was fast as fun, but I'm here to show that slow can be good too.
especially when it comes to a progressive disease like chronic kidney disease. So while I don't have CKD myself, I'm taking it slow to remind you that Jardiance is a little pill proven to slow the progression of CKD, which can lead to dialysis, and it lowers the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine and infection between and around the anus and genitals. Both may be fatal. Severe allergic reactions, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections in men and women, and low blood sugar. Stop taking and tell your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, rash, swelling, trouble breathing or swallowing. Tell your doctor about lightheadedness, weakness, fever, pain, tenderness, redness, or swelling between the anus and genitals. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
When it comes to your CKD, embrace the slow.
Ask your doctor about Jardiance.
These are the Millers. They just discovered the sweet sound of earning and saving money on Vinted. Thanks to free shipping, they spent even less on their daughter's toy drum set. And by selling some of the clothes she's outgrown with 0 fees, they earn the cash to cover it. Don't wear it, sell it.
For centuries, the 1,000-mile Ohio River has been an artery of trade and transport, connecting native peoples of the Great Lakes region to the Mississippi and beyond. But after the Revolutionary War, it becomes a path to a new future for Americans seeking land.
Every year, there are boats upon boats upon boats filled with family livestock floating down the Ohio River. On the south is the American side, Kentucky, where people expect to squat, find land, and live there.
By the late 1780s, the bluegrass lands of Kentucky are filling up, and settlers are pushing north across the Ohio River and into Miami territory. Miami War Chief Little Turtle sees the growing United States as a dire threat to his people.
When you're encroached upon by others, you have no choice but to try to defend that space. I think any nation understands that. And so at the very core, this was about defending our right to be in our homelands.
Miami people have been living in what would become the Northwest Territories for several centuries before the 1780s. The nucleus of Miami life is a string of villages that are on the Wabash River, the Upper Maumee, going up towards modern-day Ohio.
The Miamis are growing vast cornfields for as far as you can see and harvesting actively from the wetland areas of that region. There are bison even in some of the woodland areas at that time.
Like other Native Americans across the continent, the Miami used controlled burning to manage game and enrich the soil. Their abundant resources now attract land-hungry settlers determined to move here, whether they're welcome or not.
George Washington is not someone who wants to wage war against Native Americans. He understands that if you take the continent by force, that doesn't comport with the ideals of the American Republic.
Scum is a term he uses to describe these squatters who are turning to the federal government saying, you need to clear these natives off these lands.
Land speculators and congressmen also demand action. Washington hands the problem off to General Arthur St. Clair.
Arthur St. Clair is the governor of the Northwest Territory. He's a military leader. He's also a speculator, a perfect symbol of this conflict of interest he stands to gain by conquering Native American territory.
The U.S. has this idea that it's going to protect its settlers over the mountains. But there's no army to send. Once the revolution is over, the Continental Army essentially dissipates, and defense is going to be left to state militias.
There's 300 or so soldiers in the U.S. Army. Now, they have to have control over a territory stretching from the Great Lakes down to the Gulf of Mexico. That's not going to work.
So they cobble together these various militias for that whole lot of formal training and send them over the mountains. And trouble begins.
In the fall of 1790, St. Clair orders an attack on the Miami capital of Kikianga, hoping to quell the rage and force the Miami into a treaty that gives up their land. Little Turtle and allies from the Shawnee and Delaware fend off the attack, routing the militia, but St. Clair strikes back, sending Kentucky cavalry to attack the Miami and burn down their homes.
The American military campaigns at a direct objective of going into the village and destroying these stored crops. The goal being to wipe out their food source so that they didn't have any means of surviving the winter.
Far from weakening the Miami, these raids fuel their defiance. And in the aftermath, Little Turtle gains a valuable ally. An American settler, captured 8 years earlier by the Miami and raised as one of them. William Wells.
William Wells was captured as a young boy in Kentucky during a raid, brought into what we call Meow-Meongi, or the Miami country.
This is a common occurrence in Kentucky in this time period. There are a lot of reasons why Meow-Meow family would want to take a captive. One might be to replace someone who's died through violence or through disease, perhaps, to fill a gap in the community.
The story of Frontier is also one of what we might call cross-fertilization. These colliding people are also being brought together. And the captivity and the adoption of Americans could be seen as a rather dramatic and a very poignant example of that kind of cultural exchange between these peoples.
William Wells' mother had died, and then his father had been killed in an Indian ambush. So he just embraces it in a way that a 13-year-old could.
8 years after being taken captive himself, a 21-year-old William Wells sees his Miami wife and son kidnapped by Kentucky raiders in 1791.
Wells marries Little Turtle's daughter, known in English as Sweet Pea, and ends up having 4 children, one of which is a grandmother of mine.
Little Turtle brings Wells into a growing army of native resistance to U.S. expansion and begins to unite the Miami with allies across the Ohio River Valley and beyond, forging an alliance to resist settlement among so many tribes will be a test of Little Turtle's leadership and diplomacy.
Just as the American Republic is bringing together what had formerly been separate colonies, so too in the Great Lakes area emerges a confederation among previously diverse and disparate Indian peoples.
7 nations from Canada, 6 nations from modern-day New York. All the nations in the region create an effective military force that's larger than any one of the nations could provide on its own.
Indigenous peoples understand that their futures are imperiled, and they begin connecting with one another, forming the Northwest Indian Confederacy to protect their homelands and sovereignty.
The Native Americans are in a confederacy unprecedented in their history. They're well organized. They're determined to resist.
It is pretty remarkable the ways in which peoples from across the Ohio country and the Great Lakes region are coming together to put forth a united front against American expansionism.
Little Turtle rises to become one of the leading war chiefs of the Northwest Confederacy. The British also lend their support to protect their North American trade with native nations and to halt U.S. expansion. Washington now sees a threat to national security and orders St. Clair to crush the Confederacy.
St. Clair pulls together what you might call the prototype to the U.S. Army. And there's some trained regulars, but not many. It's this cobbled together force, frontiersmen, Kentucky militia, and others who have served in the Revolution.
St. Clair wants to reassure settlers that the region is safe by conquering the Native Alliance. He again targets the Miami capital, but this time he leads the invasion himself.
Little Turtle has his scouts tracking St. Clair the whole time and waits for St. Clair to get to a really vulnerable spot.
On November 3rd, 1791, St. Clair makes camp, still 50 miles from Kikionga. But the long march and low pay have taken their toll on his men. A quarter of his 2,000 recruits have succumbed to disease or deserted. Meanwhile, Little Turtle and other native leaders have brought together 1,000 warriors. Under cover of darkness, they close in.
Little Turtle and his warriors, he has this entire fleet around. And as these soldiers are just awakening, all of a sudden there are several hundred warriors running at them. Full on tomahawks, muskets, knives, war clubs.
So it's a surprise attack. Sinclair's completely unprepared for it.
Any pizza for $9.99 should mean stuffed crust too. It's crazy.
It's a bold move.
The deal is too good.
Get any toppings on any pizza, now including stuffed crust for just $9.99. It's the new best deal ever. Only at
I'm disabled, was fastest man, but I'm here to show that slow can be good too. Especially when it comes to a progressive disease like chronic kidney disease. So while I don't have CKD myself, I'm taking it slow to remind you that Jardiance is a little pill proven to slow the progression of CKD, which can lead to dialysis, and it lowers the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine and infection between and around the anus and genitals. Both may be fatal. Severe allergic reactions, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections in men and women, and low blood sugar. Stop taking and tell your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, rash, swelling, trouble breathing or swallowing. Tell your doctor about lightheadedness, weakness, pain, tenderness, redness, or swelling between the anus and genitals. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
When it comes to your CKD, embrace the slow.
Ask your doctor about Jardiance.
Drive Time makes it easy to buy a car.
Yeah, already approved. That was easy.
Yep, and you can even customize your own terms on every car.
Oh, there's a little slider thing. Can you change my down payment?
Yeah, and we have lots of cars under 15 grand.
I've never had this kind of power.
Lower. Lowest down option. Low monthly payment option. I'm making my own deal on all these cars.
Welcome to Car Buying Made Easy. This is a commercial. Go get your real deal at drivetime.com.
With Chewy Pharmacy, save 20% and make every pet a healthy pet. Get quality meds to help with anything. Fleas, allergies, or recoveries. Delivered fast. For great prices, for life with pets, there's Chewy Pharmacy.
On the morning of November 4th, 1791, Miami War Chief Little Turtle leads a confederacy of native forces in a surprise attack on General Arthur St. Clair's army.
American military commanders underestimate the sophistication and organization of Little Turtle and the Native Confederacy. They believe that the Native Americans are really a chaotic fighting force. They're incapable of modern warfare. Little Turtle is going to prove them deadly.
Little Turtle routs the Kentucky militia, throwing St. Clair's camp into chaos. But the American artillery springs into action.
St. Clair's whole scheme is kind of based around the superiority of this cannon fire. But Little Turtle brings in sharpshooters, and they effectively take out the artillery crew. And now St. Clair and the rest of them are cooked.
Over 3 long hours, St. Clair tries to fend off a carefully planned sequence of Indian attacks. He has 3 horses shot from under him, then flees for his life. 2/3 of his soldiers never make it out. A survivor describes the freshly stacked heads as a field of pumpkins.
St. Clair loses almost 700 men, the largest loss of American troops to Native Americans in our history.
U.S. soldiers, they are going into territories with this false notion that, oh, if there are a few Indians there, we'll take care of it. And there's a certain arrogance in that.
The Indian warriors go around stuffing dirt in the mouths of dead American soldiers. I think that's such a telling moment because, in a sense, what they're saying is You really wanted this land so badly? Here, taste it, eat it. And it seems to suggest that this Indian Confederacy, as long as it remains united, is going to be the lasting entity north of the Ohio River, and that the American Confederation is the one that's on the verge of collapse.
For Little Turtle and his allies, it's a triumph. Not only have they wiped out America's only army, they blocked westward expansion. And the nation that claimed its independence only 8 years earlier now looks vulnerable to a British takeover.
The British believe that the American Republic is destined to fail, and they're ready to swoop in and reclaim parts of their former imperial domain.
The British have promised to vacate the border, to remove their troops and to remove their forts, but they have not done so. And they have this sort of handshake alliance with the Native Americans, encouraging native tribes to attack white settlers who have pushed out onto the frontier.
We have to remember the United States feels threatened all the time by these imperial forces circling around it like sharks. So it's very important for Washington to defeat the tribes to show the strength of the United States.
Every time there's a setback for the United States, our reaction is not to rethink Western policy. Our reaction is to get more serious with brutality. Finally, George Washington says, we've got to take enough force to get this done. So he sends Mad Anthony Wayne out.
Anthony Wayne is known widely as Mad Anthony Wayne because of his famously fiery temper. But actually, he is mad for discipline. He is mad for training and preparedness.
Washington instructs Wayne to build a training base near Pittsburgh in 1792 and ready the Republic's first professional army, a 2,000-strong force named the Legion of the United States.
Mad Anthony really puts together a force that's aimed directly at reining in this Northwest Confederacy. So he trains them at bayonet extensively.
Bayonets are incredibly effective in close quarter fighting and in bayonet charges, but you have to have troops that are disciplined.
He tells them, you might think you're going to fight the Indians the way you might fight the British or whomever. No, it's not going to go that way. It's going to be hand-to-hand combat. However we start, that's where it's going to end up.
And so the U.S. backtracks on many of its revolutionary principles. To raise an army requires raising taxes. This is the creation of an American fiscal military state, and it's in response to Native American power.
Before ordering troops into the Northwest Territory, Washington sends peace envoys out to meet with leaders of the Confederacy. Meanwhile, Little Turtle sends William Wells and other Miami leaders on their own peace mission down the Wabash River to the frontier trading town of Vincennes to negotiate the release of Miami captives.
William Wells goes to orchestrate the freedom of his first wife and child. He comes to the attention of American officials who want Anglo-American interpreters.
The U.S. military commander in Vincennes agrees to help Wells get his family back, but it will take 3 months. In the meantime, Wells ventures across the Ohio River into Kentucky. What he sees is a world transformed.
When his family had moved to Kentucky, it was just frontier. And now, by this time in the early 1790s, he had seen a real town.
By the early 1790s, the U.S. population is 4 million. The 74,000 Americans in Kentucky have eclipsed the 50,000 or so Native Americans living in the southern Great Lakes. And to Wells' surprise, the settlers are thriving.
William Wells observes the growth of established communities in that part of the country. He sees the changes that are coming.
The more time Wells spends in that white world, the more he sees, one, how permanent it is, and two, how numerous are the American settlers. And he starts thinking, we can keep fighting all our lives, and they can just keep coming at us. This is not a happy end.
For William Wells, this is a shock. He has to be thinking to himself, what does this mean for the Miami? What does this mean for Little Turtle? What does this mean for me and my family?
Wells is finally reunited with his captured Miami wife and son. To secure their freedom, he agrees to work as an interpreter for the United States. But first, Wells reports back on what he's seen.
It's clear to Little Turtle at this point that the Americans are not going to stop. They can't halt this onslaught of settlers into their territory.
Little Turtle is trying to figure out how to preserve the Miami nation. He wants to keep fighting, protecting the homeland.
Every election, politicians make promises. Promises about healthcare, promises about lowering costs, promises about helping working families. But after Election Day, Americans are left paying high prices. Every year, big pharmaceutical companies charge more for insulin, heart medication, and life-saving prescriptions. While drug company profits grow, family budgets shrink. This election, ask yourself, who will stand up to Big Pharma? And who will protect the status quo? Because the people paying the price deserve a voice.
What happens if... Too soft, too soft.
Too strong. There, soft and strong, perfectly balanced. Angel Soft.
Moderate to severe eczema with that unbearable itch. When it's uncontrolled despite topical treatment, relieve itch fast with clearer skin that lasts. Nemluvio blocks the signaling from IL-31, a switch that triggers key symptoms of eczema. Do not take if allergic to Nemluvio. Serious reactions may occur, some severe. Tell your doctor about any medicines you take if you experience hives or plan to receive a live vaccine. The most common side effects are headache, joint pain, hives, and muscle aches. Ask about Nemluvio today.
There are trucks, and then there's the Sierra with employee pricing for everyone, with the capability to handle what life throws your way. That's the GMC Sierra, leading where it matters most. GMC Sierra, it's the truck. Celebrate Independence Day with employee pricing for everyone on all GMC Sierra 1500 models. With 0% APR, that's over $13,000 total value on this Sierra 1500 Denali.
The path to your dreams isn't always clear, but with guidance and support, let UNCF light the way to and through college.
I want to say
because a mom is a terrible thing to waste.
My late seventh.
too much. I mean, you could be a news reporter. I want to stay and stick it out so that way when the time comes, I can undo whatever's been done. You have the authority to do that? I don't have the authority to do that, but I have the influence. Challenges my morals. What is something for you to undo? I would not have prayer service. No prayer service. I don't think there should be one specific prayer service. I was converted to schedule policy. I don't like it because I'm negatively impacted by it. There's a lot of things that they try to do at the very beginning that they've still not rolled out. They have certain folks in certain positions who can slow roll things.
You probably can't even tell me what your position is there, your opinion is on that, or around.
They talk with one man's ego. Trump is a textbook narcissist.
Wow.
1792. President Washington has made little progress in his effort to subdue the Northwest Confederacy. His new army is still in training. In the meantime, he makes a final effort to secure native lands without a fight.
So while George Washington was trying to resolve the great security crisis on the western border, there's another huge crisis unfolding in the United States, which we know as the Whiskey Rebellion. Basically, thousands of farmers in western Pennsylvania are up in arms about a tax that's been imposed on distilled liquids. And it really looks like, to George Washington and his administration, that they have a civil war brewing.
This is the first major test of this new presidency. He has to somehow put down law and order. He has to have the taxes because the debt from the Revolutionary War has now reached unprecedented heights. He sends the troops. They put down the rebellion, and had he not done otherwise, then there would really have not been a sense of whether or not the government could control its own people.
Washington is looking at these wars against Ohio Indian Confederacy and saying, wait a second, there's a vast expense of manpower here and a vast loss in blood. We've got to find a different path. So they send a team of negotiators out to meet with leaders of the Indian Confederacy. And they basically sort of say, well, what if we pay you to sort of cede some lands to us?
In spring 1793, Confederacy leaders from across the Great Lakes region hold a grand council and debate whether to accept the offer. In the wake of their victory over St. Clair's army, they take a hard line.
Native Americans had defeated the American army and successfully defended their homes, their people, their crops. So Little Turtle is thinking about creating a lasting peace while Native Americans have.
The indigenous people in that area had managed to stave off American interests for a long time. And their partnership with the British also kept Americans out of there.
The Indian leaders, Little Turtle among them, say, money to us is of no value. Rather than you giving us money, you should pay your poor settlers. You should use the money to pay them to retreat.
The Confederacy makes a bold proposal demanding a permanent boundary at the Ohio River with native nations on the north and the United States on the south. But the idea is soundly rejected. Meanwhile, British agents offer weapons and money to the Indian Confederacy if they'll keep up the fight. When the peace talks finally collapse, Anthony Wayne gets orders from a frustrated President Washington. Prepare to attack.
From Pittsburgh, Wayne's army moves down the Ohio River for the invasion of Miami country. And they begin cutting, pulling, and burning corn. The most immense fields that Anthony Wayne has ever seen in his life, he says.
Through the summer of 1794, Wayne pushes the Legion deeper into Miami territory, supplying his troops through a series of forts. Meanwhile, Little and other Confederacy leaders struggle to agree on their next move.
The timeline is a problem because Mad Anthony is moving very slowly and deliberately, which is part of his strength. And the gathered warriors have come from far away. I mean, even hundreds of miles away, they've left their families. And the warriors are getting really impatient.
Against Little Turtle's advice, the Shawnee lead an attack on Fort Recovery, built by Wayne on the site of St. Clair's defeat. First, they take out the supply lines with help from British troops. Then they strike the fort itself.
The idea of attacking a fort was antithetical to Indian ways of war. The casualties that you would suffer were unthinkable. But there is certain they can win.
Part of the Northwest Confederacy decides it's time to go ahead and attack directly on Fort Recovery, and it just blows them away.
Both sides lose around 30 men, but while the U.S. quickly regroups, Native morale is shrinking.
The failure to take Fort Recovery is the first loss that some of these Native Americans have had in several years.
That ends up being very demoralizing for the Northwest Indian Confederacy. The warriors start dispersing, and meanwhile, Mad Anthony Wayne is this crushing force marching towards them.
Moderate to severe eczema with that unbearable itch. When it's uncontrolled, despite topical treatment, relieve itch fast with clearer skin that lasts. Nemluvio blocks the signaling from IL-31, which that triggers key symptoms of eczema. Do not take if allergic to Nemluvio. Serious reactions may occur, some severe. Tell your doctor about any medicines you take if you experience hives or plan to receive a live vaccine. The most common side effects are headache, joint pain, hives, and muscle aches. Ask about Nemluvio today.
There's DNA. Then there's heavy-duty DNA. HDNA. It's engineered into every aspect of the GMC Sierra HD. So when the job is heavy, GMC Sierra HD reports for duty. Get 4.9% APR plus $2,000 purchase cash on 2026 GMC Sierra Heavy Duty Denali models. We are professional grade.
Fits right on your countertop. Fits next to your veggie crop. Fits wherever cookbooks go. Fits up high and down below. Fits right here. Fits right there. Fits where others wouldn't dare. Fits in crannies. Fits in nooks. Fits where no one thinks to look. Fits like this. Fits like that. Fits wherever supper's at. Fits for medium. Fits for rare. Your Bella will fit anywhere. Even there.
What a hotel. Right? And only $250 a night for my favorite night. What?
You didn't take it. It's mine for $155. You have to check Trivago.
Oh yeah? Prove it.
On Trivago, you can compare hotel prices from multiple different sites, even your favorite one. Look, same hotel, $100 less. You didn't check Trivago?
I didn't check Trivago.
Check Trivago to compare prices and save up to 40%. Hotel? Trivago.
After a failed attack on Fort Recovery in 1794, the Indian Confederacy begins to splinter. Some tribes return to their homeland, but the Miami and others keep fighting. Little Turtle asks the British for troops and cannons.
The British are up in Canada, and they have this idea to create what they call an Indian barrier state. A big, huge strip of land held by Indian tribes as a way, essentially, of keeping the United States sort of bottled up on the East Coast.
But to create this zone, the Confederacy needs military support. And while the British agree to supply gunpowder and food, they won't commit the soldiers or artillery that Little Turtle asked for. Meanwhile, Mad Anthony Wayne pushes north from Fort Recovery.
The Native American Army believes it can slow the Americans down while their families are continuing to evacuate the region as it's being burned.
Little Turtle and his fellow war chiefs have just 1,500 men left to fight Wayne's 2,000-strong army and 1,600 Kentucky militia. They take up position a mile from their British allies at Fort Miami, choosing terrain that's scattered with fallen trees, a natural barrier against bayonet charges and cavalry attacks.
Wayne has the benefit of a lot of intelligence coming about the Confederacy side and what they're up to. He hears a report that the Indians are ready, preparing for battle. And part of it is fasting.
Warriors engage with no food or water during that time. And this prepares the warrior spiritually, mentally, and physically to engage in a battle and have success.
Wayne plays a waiting game as the native allies fast for 3 days. But just after a storm hits, he strikes.
That this is a clash of two different ways of seeing life itself, fighting for the destiny of the new republic on the one side, and fighting for the future of your homeland on the other side.
This is very difficult terrain, but Mad Anthony's trained his foot soldiers so well in bayonet warfare and hand-to-hand combat. And that pushes the Indians out of the fallen timbers. At that point, then his cavalry can much more easily push the Indians back.
Native allies were not willing to accept mass casualties in pitched battles and would rather easily retreat off the battlefield rather than allow many of their men to be killed.
They're in this open field with cavalry coming down on them with thousands of soldiers. And so it ends up being basically a rout.
As their battle lines collapse, the native forces retreat. Saving themselves from annihilation, they run to their British allies at Fort Miami for help.
So at this time, a treaty is actually under negotiations. It's eventually going to be called the Jay Treaty between the new United States and the very powerful and threatening Great Britain, principally to get the British to remove their troops and to remove their forts from U.S. territory, and also to allow a little more trade.
The Indians get to Fort Miami, and the gates are locked. The British commander gets up on top of the stockade and shouts over the gate, "You are eating too much, my children. I cannot let you in." That's the metaphorical way of saying you are too much into war. You're stirring things up too much. Because if the British commander opens the gates, Mad Anthony is likely to attack the fort.
The British commander is under strict orders not to provoke and to engage in a way that will trigger a war.
And that's the moment when this whole Northwest Confederacy, I mean, it's literally like the gates close on them.
And so now their allies left them swinging in the wind, left them hanging, and that completes the defeat.
Everyone's loving my idea to add stuffed crust to our best deal ever for the same price.
Oh, it's crazy.
Financially irresponsible.
Well, not everyone.
Get any toppings on any pizza, now including stuffed crust for just $9.99.
Oh, no. Fits right on your countertop. Fits next to your veggie crop. Fits wherever cookbooks go. Fits up high and down below. Fits right here. Fits right there. Fits where others wouldn't dare. Fits in crannies. Fits in nooks. Fits where no one thinks to look. Fits like this. Fits like that. Fits wherever supper's at. Fits for medium. Fits for rare. Your Bella will fit anywhere.
Now here's something you didn't realize until just now. You're probably overpaying for your hotel. That's right. Not your fault, really. It's just the same hotel has way too many prices on way too many sites. Unless, of course, you check Trivago. On Trivago, you can compare prices from multiple sites in one place. So you can save up to 40%. And just like that, goodbye overpaying.
Wow. Let me guess. Trivago?
You know it. Hotel Trivago.
Every election, politicians make promises. Promises about healthcare. Promises about lowering costs. Promises about helping working families. But after Election Day, Americans are left paying high prices. Every year, big pharmaceutical companies charge more for insulin, heart medication, and life-saving prescriptions. While drug company profits grow, family budgets shrink. This election, ask yourself, who will stand up to Big Pharma? And who will protect the status quo? Because the people paying the price deserve a voice.
Every act of change begins with a neighbor. When neighbors connect through the Feeding America network, small actions ripple into lasting impact. Feeding America, led by neighbors.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save how much on app?
5 years after destroying the U.S. Army, the Northwest Confederacy is now soundly beaten at fallen timbers and broken up once and for all. But a victorious Anthony Wayne is not finished with his conquest, and Little Turtle is now powerless to stop him.
Wayne's army burned the cornfields and leave Ohio Indians without a food supply and starve them into submission.
This is an apocalyptic market. The river valley is in flames. There's no food. People are struggling with not the defeat at fallen timbers, but the disintegration of their lives.
So Anthony Wayne takes another hammer to Miami morale when he builds a fort smack dab in the center of their capital, Kikianga. And to add salt to the wound, Wayne names the fort after himself, Fort Wayne.
He called Anthony Wayne a Lampsenois, which just really went the wind because of the way he just kind of blew in and blew over everyone that was there.
For many indigenous leaders, this is enough to convince them that violent resistance is no longer a viable path to the survival of their people.
As Wayne scorches the earth, Native leaders push for peace talks. They convene at Fort Greenville in June 1795. Little Turtle brings in William Wells as his interpreter.
they come to surrender and want to sign a treaty that surrenders as little as possible. And that's Little Turtle's main objective, surrendering, but in a way that keeps Miami integrity, keeps Miami sovereignty, keeps Miami independence with this new powerful neighbor that is willing to go to great lengths to inflict violence on its people.
But they are in a very weak position, and so they end up surrendering huge swaths of territory, pushing the line of settlement for the Americans many, many hundreds of miles into the interior.
Little Turtle is the last native leader to agree to the Greenville Treaty. As he signs, he declares he'll also be the last to break it. It's completed just 6 weeks after Congress approves the Jay Treaty, which expels British forts and troops. George Washington's goal of securing the Northwest Territory is now complete. But for Native Americans, it's just the beginning.
The Treaty of Greenville opens most of the Ohio Valley to white settlement, but it sets a kind of pattern, a module, a template for what's going to follow. Land cessions by purchase if possible, by coercion if necessary, by war, including genocidal war, if absolutely necessary.
The Treaty of Greenville really set in motion what was a cascade of 13 treaties, which caused the complete dispossession of homelands for the Miami people.
And within just a very short period of time, thousands, tens of thousands, and eventually hundreds of thousands of people will pour into this territory, expanding the United States quite significantly.
Miami leaders such as Little Turtle, they lived through the Revolutionary War and found themselves contemplating a future in which they might coexist essentially with the American Republic. So it must have been incredibly devastating to see American state power grow so quickly and project violence into this region.
Little Turtle dies in 1812. That same year, the British start a new native uprising to wrest control of the Great Lakes region back from the U.S. Britain and America take up arms in the War of 1812. And once again, in the Northwest Territory, the United States confronts an Indian alliance.
Anglo-American civilization knows from the beginning, no matter how much it wants the West, that getting it is going to involve some ruthlessness. But the fact is, we did it as peacefully as possible and as ruthlessly as necessary.
We today have to recognize how green and raw and new this nation was at that moment. The United States was not a done deal.
First wash since I bought it.
Still can't believe this thing is yours.
No. Navy Federal Credit Union, jurisdiction for the drama. The rest was easy. I mean, I can't imagine where I'd get down.
Get me in there!
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
These are the Millers. They just discovered the sweet sound of earning and saving money on Vinted. Thanks to free shipping, they spent even less on their daughter's toy drum set. And by selling some of the clothes she's outgrown with 0 fees, they earn the cash to cover it. Don't wear it, sell it.
At the beginning of the 19th century, the western border of the United States is the Mississippi River. Beyond it lies French Louisiana, a land that for most Americans is too vast to imagine, too mysterious to comprehend. But when President Thomas Jefferson buys it from Napoleon, American explorers quickly seek out its most valuable resource, animal furs. As trappers and traders pursue their fortunes out west, Native Americans will be forced to fight to preserve the riches of their homeland. One daring mountain man named John Coulter will get caught up in a clash of cultures, forging a legend with a run for his life.
People live on myths. And the myths that really stick in the American experience are the myths of the West.
The mountains were taller, the deserts were harsher, the snows were deeper.
American West conjures wonder, possibility, opportunity.
The figure of the mountain man.
Notorious outlaws. The cowboy. The discovery of gold in California. This train of wagons trailing across the prairie.
Everybody has a reason for wanting this land.
Most of that land
Was already occupied.
We haven't residents for more than 10,000 years.
This is a clash of two different ways of seeing life itself. Fighting for the future of your homeland on the one side, and fighting for the destiny of the new republic on the other side.
The history of the West is a creation story. It's a creation of what we think of as modern America.
The West is a place where anything is possible. It is the essence of the American dream.
The core of this is, what are we to be as a nation? The reckoning is coming.
The West is this canvas on which American dreams become larger than life.
March 1803. The United States is young. It's been independent for just 20 years, and its economy and infrastructure are still in their infancy. But the nation is growing fast. Ohio has just entered the Union as the 17th state. The U.S. population is 5.3 million and rising 35% a year. The majority of Americans are farmers, and for President Thomas Jefferson, the future of the Republic rests on their shoulders.
To Jefferson's mind, the ideal American citizen was a farmer cultivating a small tract of land.
Jefferson saw the yeoman farmer as almost a natural aristocrat, and he was opposed to that inherited aristocracy of Europe culture.
Jefferson also needs American farmers to build the nation's economy. But as more settlers move west, the Mississippi River becomes increasingly vital for trade and transport, and it's vulnerable to foreign influence.
France has just taken over the lands west of the Mississippi River. Spain is down in Mexico, another threat. The British are up north in Canada. So you still have empires that are circling around the United States or pressing in from all sides.
With so many potential European threats, Jefferson needs to make sure American farmers have free access to the Mississippi River to ship their crops. So he looks to acquire the port of New Orleans.
That's all Jefferson wants, control of the port city. So we can control all of that produce going downriver and be under American jurisdiction.
But Jefferson will have to bargain with the leader of the French Republic, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon has designs on a global empire, which includes the Western Hemisphere. But when slaves revolt in Haiti, Napoleon finds himself in the midst of a quagmire.
His imperial goals are starting to fall apart. He needs to finance this army, and he's looking for any way out.
Jefferson sent his diplomats over to make an offer for New Orleans. And that's when Napoleon said, well, I don't know about New Orleans. Why don't you buy the whole thing?
Napoleon offers to sell the United States the entire territory of Louisiana, a vast swath of land that stretches from the Mississippi to the Rockies.
828,000 square miles, 575 million acres, $15.6 million. The greatest land sale in human history, 3 cents per acre, doubling the size of our republic with a single stroke of Jefferson's pen. It's impossible for us to get our brains around this moment.
With France now gone from the North American continent, the United States is down one rival. Now its primary threat is its former colonial ruler, Great Britain.
The Treaty of Paris in 1783 settles the revolution. And the U.S. thinks, okay, we're free now. We're free of British influence. We're our own people. The British aren't thinking the same way. They're looking to push over the U.S. at any opportunity.
With their extensive network of North American outposts, the British run the most profitable fur trade in the world.
The fur trade, the trade in animal pelts in the 17th and the 18th and 19th century, was one of the greatest economic machines in the entire Western world.
In exchange for weapons and other goods, native people trade valuable furs such as fox, marten, mink, and sea otter, which Europeans take overseas and sell at a markup.
The British had a tremendously developed infrastructure in the fur trade. It was easy to come down from Canada into what was technically U.S. territory and take furs or trade for furs.
Jefferson suspects the newly acquired territory of Louisiana is filled with furs and other valuable resources. He asked Congress to fund an expedition to explore the area.
He wants to know what's out there. Various flora and fauna and species of bird and fish, and he wants to know it all.
Jefferson tasked 2 Army officers, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, with a mission to lead a corps of discovery into Louisiana territory. In May of 1804, they head west from St. Louis on the Missouri River.
The kind of young men who were capable of doing this are like Navy SEALs. The rest of us wouldn't last 2 days on the Lewis and Clark expedition.
The party totals 45, including scientists, cartographers, and several healthy young men with exceptional survival skills. Among them is 32-year-old John Coulter.
John Coulter is born in Virginia in the early 1770s, and he grows up on a farm and has access to the great outdoors. He spends a lot of time there, really learning his way around a forest.
John Coulter is the type of person Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were trying to recruit for the Corps of Discovery. Extraordinary endurance, incredible outdoor skills, an ability to confront things in a spontaneous fashion, and able to rendezvous at a very distant location. And he had all of those things in spades.
When we think of like a natural in baseball or a natural athlete, he was a natural mountain man. He could read the land. He had skills that most people don't have. He had drive.
He is a person who is resistant to the strictures of modern society, of rules, of churches, of laws, and he's going to be much more comfortable away from all that, out there in the wilderness.
To be part of a historic mission that's authorized by the Congress of the United States, that had to be so intoxicating. This is the moon mission. This is a mission to Mars.
As the Corps of Discovery heads deeper into this uncharted territory, they experience the harsh conditions of the northern plains. They also discover the fabled beauty of the land and encounter the native nations who call it home.
The biggest misconception is that the West was a virgin land. They knew better, and we certainly know better. That it wasn't a virgin land, it was a peopled land.
East of the Mississippi, native nations are being pushed off their lands by an onslaught of American settlers. It's different in the West, as the Corps discovers.
They are trying to collect not only scientific information, but also diplomatic and military information in order to be able to ascertain how hard is it going to be to get control of this place or the many places that different peoples inhabit. They require a tremendous amount of help from native peoples.
They had among their party the Frenchman who knew some of the native and his wife that everyone knows as Sacagawea.
Serving as a guide and translator, Sacagawea will prove invaluable to the mission. So much so that Lewis and Clark name a river in her honor.
Oftentimes it's connections with Indians that are crucial, because if Indians don't want you there, you're not going to last long there.
Do you have metastatic breast cancer? Unfolding more of your story may be possible with TrueCap. TrueCap is taken with fulvestrant for people with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC with abnormal PIK3CA, AKT1 or PTEN genes, and progression on or after hormone therapy. In fact, TrueCap plus fulvestrant may give you twice as much time without your cancer growing or spreading than fulvestrant alone. Don't take TrueCap if you've had a severe allergic reaction to it. Side effects including high blood sugar, diarrhea, and skin reactions are common with TrueCap and may be severe. Untreated high blood sugar can lead to treatment in the hospital or death. Your doctor will monitor your blood sugar before and during treatment. Tell your doctor right away if you have increased thirst, increased urination or appetite with weight loss, diarrhea, fever, rash, reddening, drying, or peeling of skin, skin, lips, eyes, or mouth, stomach pain, tiredness, confusion, blurred vision, or difficulty breathing. These are not all the possible side effects of TrueCap. TrueCap can harm an unborn baby. Ask your doctor about pregnancy, breastfeeding, and birth control. How will your story unfold? If you have metastatic breast cancer, ask your doctor if TrueCap plus fulvestrant is right for you.
We've been here for all of it. Like the time when you really wanted to find that perfect thing, while it was still, a thing. And when you wanted to make some healthy choices, but didn't realize how many choices there were. Or the time you ran in for this and realized you also needed that, and oh yeah, that too. Right by your side. Right in your community. Right here for all of it.
Throughout the expedition's first year, Lewis and Clark encounter numerous tribes across the northern plains. John Coulter proves his worth.
John Coulter turns out to be really good interacting with Native Americans and bartering with them and getting information from them. He's also really good at navigating his way through wilderness. And so whenever there's a job to be done to send somebody 100 miles on a journey to do something, they pick John Coulter because he can do it and he can find his way back.
and Clark task Coulter with finding a lost member of the Corps. They send him on scouting missions, and he quickly gains a reputation as one of the most skilled hunters in the party.
I mean, just imagine what it was like to be alone, danger every day, have no idea what you're going to encounter. He became a professional man of the West.
As the Corps makes its way up the Missouri River, Coulter can't help but notice the abundance of a particular animal.
All the way up, they're seeing more and more and more beaver. And he, like others on the Corps of Discovery, are thinking, there's wealth to be had here.
Beaver are such a unique species because their hair is so dense on their hide, and it makes it extremely soft, very durable, and so it became extremely popular for top hats during the 19th century.
Beaver fur becomes one of the hot commodities, essentially the gold of the early 19th century. So the person that can acquire the beaver pelts is sitting on a fortune.
By the summer of 1806, the Corps of Discovery is finally headed back towards St. Louis. Over the course of 2 years, they made an incredible 8,000-mile round-trip voyage, mapping not only the Louisiana Territory, but vast areas of the Pacific Northwest. Their discoveries of rivers, mountains, native nations, plants, and animals create a catalog of the West, drawn in detail in the journals of Lewis and Clark.
So they get beyond the Yellowstone River. They're this close to St. Louis. And they encounter the first white men they have seen for a very, very long time. Their names are Forrest Hancock and Joseph Dixon. They've had a rough time of it, and now they have hopes of repairing their fortunes by trapping beaver.
One of the most beaver-rich areas in the entire nation was around the headwaters of the Missouri River, and that's where Coulter had just come from with the Lewis and Clark expedition. And so he's one of the very few white men to have actually been to that place.
Hancock and Dixon, they asked the captives, is there anyone among you who might be willing to come back with us to serve as a kind of guide or companion? And Lewis and Clark think, are you nuts? You know, we're just weeks from home. Of course no one's going to turn back. And Coulter steps forward and says, I'll do it. I want to do it. I want to go back.
So in the fall of 1806, John Coulter turns back to the West, while the rest of the Corps of Discovery heads home. They have been out of contact with American society for nearly 2 years.
Because they were gone so long, people just assumed that they too had perished.
And so when they finally show up in St. Louis, it's like they came back from the dead. Here we are.
As news of their return spreads, Lewis and Clark become national celebrities. Americans savor their detailed accounts of the wild frontier and its riches.
Meriwether Lewis writes this very reassuring letter to President Jefferson. The West abounds with essentially infinite numbers of beaver. This resource is unlimited.
For President Jefferson, this discovery presents an incredible opportunity, a chance to compete with the British in the fur trade. A handful of American trappers are already making their way up the Missouri River, including John Coulter.
Coulter turns back with Hancock and Dixon and goes up to the mouth of the Yellowstone. He knows it's unlimited wealth if you can really harvest this.
By the early 1800s, the idea in America that one can come from very humble circumstances and through hard work and a little bit of luck, one can elevate themselves up to a higher class. That has been firmly entrenched after 200 years of colonization. And so people like John Coulter are imbued with that idea that even though I'm born to humble circumstances, I can get into the fur trade. And if I work hard and I apply myself, I can become fabulously wealthy.
As John Coulter leads Dixon and Hancock up the Missouri River, the winter of 1806 is about to set in. He knows if he wants to survive, he'll have to find native allies. So he sets up camp near the Crow.
Crow people in the 19th century were located all along both sides of the Yellowstone River. We occupied an area that was about 4 million acres in size. Crow people are not hung up on race politics. They are welcoming of anyone who wants to come and share their community. They're opening their doors to us, and John Coulter is one of those people. He knows how to speak plain sign language. Once a person could learn how to use this language, then they were able to communicate with any tribe on the northern or southern plains. Coulter comes in and he's gaining hundreds, thousands of years of local knowledge from these tribes. Every plant that he's looking at on the ground is something that the Crows can identify as something that's either edible or useful in some utilitarian way.
But some native nations don't want Americans trapping on their lands.
The Blackfeet are strongly opposed to American fur traders coming up the Missouri River into Blackfeet territory. And many of those fur traders ended up paying with their lives.
The Blackfeet were feared by their Native American neighbors, like the Crow, and they transmitted this fear to the white folks. Watch out for the Blackfeet.
Do you have metastatic breast cancer? Unfolding more of your story may be possible with TrueCap. TrueCap is taken with fulvestrant for people with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC with abnormal PIK3CA, AKT1, or PTEN genes, and progression on or after hormone therapy. In fact, TrueCap plus fulvestrant may give you twice as much time without your cancer growing or spreading than fulvestrant alone. Don't take TrueCap if you've had a severe allergic reaction to it. Side effects including high blood sugar, diarrhea, and skin reactions are may be severe. Untreated high blood sugar can lead to treatment in the hospital or death. Your doctor will monitor your blood sugar before and during treatment. Tell your doctor right away if you have increased thirst, increased urination or appetite with weight loss, diarrhea, fever, rash, reddening, drying, or peeling of skin, or blistering of skin, lips, eyes, or mouth, stomach pain, tiredness, confusion, blurred vision, or difficulty breathing. These are not all the possible side effects of TrueCap. TrueCap can harm an unborn baby. Ask your doctor about pregnancy, breastfeeding, and birth control. How will your story unfold? If you have metastatic breast cancer, ask your doctor if TrueCap plus fulvestrant is right for you.
It's a good idea. Smooth. Companion. Okay, run it!
By the early 1800s, the Blackfeet had been trading with the British-owned Hudson's Bay Company for decades, making them one of the most heavily armed tribes on the northern plains. But while the British respect the Blackfeet's sovereignty, Americans are using their lands without permission.
The Blackfeet made a lot of mountain men retire. They have been on the northern plains thousands of years, and they control militaristically the entire northern portion of Montana, probably for several hundred miles.
This is their sovereign homeland. And suddenly these people from outside are in, no license, no negotiation, just coming in, killing stuff, and taking it out. The Blackfeet rightly understand that this is no license, no negotiation, just coming in, killing stuff and taking it out. The Blackfeet rightly understand that this is a threat.
John Coulter has found allies in the Blackfeet's fiercest rivals, the Crow, who show Coulter where it's safe to trap and which places to avoid. But even with some help, the work is relentless.
The beaver fur is thickest and most valuable in the middle of winter. And in order to set the traps and to retrieve the beaver, if they do get trapped, you have to go in the water in absolutely freezing temperatures. And if you get wet and it's really cold, you can freeze to death very quickly.
Coulter makes it through the long winter, but the harsh conditions prove too much for his partners.
I think Hancock and Dixon really don't have the right stuff. They knew it. That's why they asked for help. And so he finally gives up on them.
Coulter leaves Hancock and Dixon with all the provisions. By the spring of 1807, he's on his way back down the Missouri River, free and alone. But in the West, opportunity is never far away.
This time he gets all the way to the mouth of the Platte River, so he's just days from St. Louis now. And he meets Manuel Lisa. Now Lisa, he's a Spaniard. He is a very ambitious and driven man. And he is leading a large group up to the Yellowstone country to do industrial extraction of beaver.
Coulter discovers that there are several members of his friends in Manuel Lisa's expedition, and he agrees to work for Manuel Lisa.
And Coulter turns back again. So this means he can't get it out of his system. There's something so compelling in the West that he overcomes his caution again and again and again, very nearly to the point of death.
By the early 1800s, British-Canadian fur trade has been going strong for nearly 2 centuries, and the United States is just beginning to catch up.
In the U.S., I mean, they're kind of hobbling along on horses and hauling boats up rivers with ropes, compared to this very efficient British fur trade.
Our image of the fur trade during this period is dominated by these romantic, fascinating characters, the mountain men. And they were sort of the working force of it. But all of this was run by larger businesses.
The British have already established major fur trading outposts in Canada, such as the Hudson's Bay Company, employing hundreds of trappers and generating a hefty stream of revenue. By contrast, the American Great Plains has nothing of the sort, until Manuel Lisa ventures up the Missouri River.
Manuel Lisa will be the first to establish a trading post there. This is a place that traders can trade their furs and their wares all year, where Native Americans can come and engage in commerce as well. So it becomes an important economic driver in this long move toward the settlement of the West.
Manuel Lisa creates his trade fort at the mouth of the Bighorn, so in the heart of Absaroka Crow country. It's in their interest to be on good terms with the Crow.
Coulter's experience with the Crow makes him the perfect man to head up trade relations with the local tribes.
Manuel Lisa wants Coulter to go around and inform the different tribes that there's going to be a new trading post, that they're welcome to come there and trade with their hides. And so this is going to be a new Costco or Walmart on the Northern Plains.
If he said what he had to have, he would have said powder, ball, rifle, hatchet, knife. Beyond that, I can make do. I can make moccasins, I can make clothes, I can butcher animals.
Coulter's exploration of the upper Yellowstone is legendary. He makes his way west of the Wind River Range into what we know as the Yellowstone Caldera. He experiences the geysers, he sees the hot pools.
He's encountering these things that only indigenous people would have known. And so in that way, it's like discovering a new continent.
As Coulter lays the groundwork for Lisa's trading post, known as Fort Raymond, he helps to create the first commercial infrastructure for this region of the American West. This is what Thomas Jefferson has been hoping for. But his vision doesn't stop there. To him, The fur trade in the northern plains is a gateway to the Pacific coast.
So in these years, the very early 1800s, the West Coast is really unclaimed territory. Technically spans up as far as San Francisco. You have Russian fur traders way up in Alaska. And then between those Russian fur posts in Alaska and San Francisco, you have 2,000 miles of unclaimed coast in the Northwest. This is an incredible resource in both land and in furs. And Britain knows it, and the U.S. knows it.
The British and the Americans eventually end up in a fur trading arms race, so to speak, to extract as quickly as they can the remaining furs across most of Western Europe.
But as American trade networks advance towards the Rockies, it causes turmoil among the native nations.
A lot of these tribes have agreements. They're peaceful with one another. As pioneers and other Americans move westward, the tribes steadily lose land and resources, and that causes conflict amongst them.
The rivalry between the Crow and the Blackfeet has been building for decades. Fights over territory and horses are common. But the latest sticking point is Manuel Lisa's trading for.
The Crow are benefiting because now they're getting rifle and shot, they're getting kettles and handkerchiefs and beads and all the things that they want and can use. So they like this arrangement.
But the Blackfeet know that the court means one thing: more Americans trespassing on their lands. And it's not long before John Coulter finds himself caught in the fray.
Call it a pursuit, something we want, some part of us that once was ours. With vitiligo, it's a pursuit for pigment, and it is on. Opsilura is the first and only FDA-approved prescription treatment for non-segmental vitiligo, proven to help repigment skin over time. It's your choice to go after what's yours and help restore that pigment with a steroid-free cream.
Do not start Opsilura if you have an infection, as it may lower your ability to fight it. Tell your doctor if you have or had an infection, TB, hepatitis B or C, blood clots in legs or lungs, heart attack, stroke, cancer, high cholesterol, smoke, or are pregnant. May cause serious lung infections, certain cancers, immune system problems, blood clots, and low blood cell counts. Major cardiovascular events or death occurred in those 50 plus taking oral JAK inhibitors.
Repigmentation is possible. Ask your doctor about Opsilura or book a virtual appointment at opsilura.com. Pursue it.
The 3 for Me, only at Chili's, is now available with the big crispy chicken sandwich that's so big the McDonald's McCrispy has nowhere to hide. Oh, never mind. It was hiding right there. Hey, little fella. This Chili's 3 for Me is the best $10.99 you can eat.
My entire paycheck is gone on the 1st because of rent.
Eventually, I found Flex.
Flex is an app that pays your rent in full and you pay it in 2. And you essentially play with the dates that work best for you.
Applying for Flex was super easy. Just fill out. I don't remember how I did. This is I'm a long-time Flex customer.
It gave me the opportunity to be able to move my money around throughout the month.
I think Flex is just a smarter way to budget.
Join the millions of people who've taken control of their money. Visit getflex.com and apply today.
Let's go get this big money.
Jamie Foxx and Corinne are back to give away. Beat Shazam returns July 28th.
That's how you do it.
On Fox.
As John Coulter returns from his 1,000-mile trek in the spring of 1808, he passes through the middle of a generational conflict between two native nations, the Crow and their rivals, the Blackfeet.
When Coulter leaves Fort Manuel Lisa in 1808 and makes his way to the west, he comes into a group of Crow hunter-gatherers and he joins their group.
And they encounter a very large contingent of Blackfeet, and there's a battle. Coulter is part of the Crow world. He's naturally going to fight with the Crow.
In the ensuing clash, John Coulter, he's a really good shot. He ends up killing a number of Blackfeet warriors before getting wounded himself in the leg.
Wounded and bleeding, Coulter hikes the long trail through the snow back to Fort Raymond. But his bravery has left its mark on the Blackfeet.
When you talk about spending in warfare at the time that John Coulter was engaged in it, it was pretty close up. it was pretty personal style of fighting. So people could see you. They would remember what you looked like. And so if he fought against Blackfeet in 1808, it's likely that they remembered who he was and that they could identify him.
But as he recovers at Fort Raymond, the allure of the wilderness is too great for him to resist, and he's already planning his next move.
While Coulter is convalescing, he sees all kinds of trappers coming into the fort with fur and making really good money, and it starts to gnaw at him because he's an exceptional trapper. He knows how to do this.
So Coulter heals up from his injury, and like any good cowboy, he wants to get back up on that horse.
Meanwhile, a wealthy entrepreneur in New York also has his eyes on the fur trade, with grand ambitions to corner the market.
Well, John Jacob Astor was born in Germany in modest circumstances. He comes to America as a teenager. He hears talk about this lucrative fur trade. So what does he do? He gets to New York and he goes into a furrier and he learns everything he can about the trade, and then somehow goes out on his own and eventually becomes the first multimillionaire in America.
Jefferson gets a letter from John Jacob Astor, and the letter says to Jefferson, I have a plan for capturing the entire fur wealth of North America. And Jefferson says, who is this guy? Come on down to the White House, let's talk.
In the summer of 1808, Astor goes to Washington to meet the president and lays out his plans. He'll set up a network of trading posts all the way from the Missouri River to the Pacific coast, where he'll establish an outpost to link the American fur trade with Asia, Alaska, and beyond.
It's this grand vision. And they come out all pumped out of this meeting. And Jefferson says, I will help you in any way I can. Well, of course, it's like helping crush Britain in the fur trade.
But Astor's not the only one looking to make his fortune in the fur trade. In the fall of 1808, Coulter decides to embark on another trapping expedition. Competition for furs has never been greater, but Coulter has an advantage. He knows the terrain, he knows the tribes, and he alone knows where to find the densest population of beaver, right in the middle of Blackfeet territory.
When fur trappers first came to Blackfeet country, the Blackfeet told them, don't hunt these beavers here or we're going to chase you out of here. A lot of fur trappers decided that they were going to go ahead and trap anyway. A lot of them didn't have very good results.
Coulter is aware that they are in the territory that is patrolled by the Blackfeet tribe, which makes it a very perilous venture. But he knows that the prospects are great, and if he gets out there, he can do well and maybe make his fortune.
Coulter decides to go in with a partner, someone he already trusts, and he chooses John Potts, his former canoe mate from the Corps of Discovery.
And Coulter suggests to Potts that they do most of their trapping and most of their setting and cleaning of traps at night under the cover of darkness.
And so it works for a while. They managed to stay out of the black purview there and trap quite a few beavers for several months.
And so one morning, while the sun is coming up, they are setting and repairing traps. And they hear in the distance this thunderous roar, which they first think might be just a herd of buffalo passing by.
That's when they encounter a very large contingent of very angry Blackfeet.
Known for pursuing your passions, no one wants to be known for cancer, but a treatment can be. Keytruda is an immunotherapy known to treat cancer. FDA approved for 18 types of cancer. One of those cancers is early-stage non-small cell lung cancer. Keytruda may be used with certain chemotherapies before surgery when you have early-stage lung cancer, which can be removed by surgery, and then continued alone after surgery to help prevent your lung cancer from coming back.
Keytruda can cause your immune system to attack healthy parts of your body during or after treatment. This may be severe to death. See your doctor right away if you have cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, diarrhea, severe stomach pain, nausea or vomiting, headache, eye problems, irregular heartbeat, extreme tiredness, constipation, dizziness or fainting, changes in appetite, thirst or urine, confusion, memory problems, persistent or severe muscle pain or weakness, muscle cramps, fever, rash, itching or flushing, and any other side effects. Tell your doctor about all medical conditions, including immune or nervous system problems, such as Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, lupus, or myasthenia gravis, or Guillain-Barré syndrome, and organ, tissue, or stem cell transplant, or receive chest radiation. Keytruda can harm your unborn baby.
See all the types of cancer Keytruda is known for at Keytruda.com and ask your doctor if Keytruda could be right for you. It's true. Keytruda.
We've been here for all of it. Like the time when you really wanted to find that perfect thing, while it was still, a thing. And when you wanted to make some healthy choices, but didn't realize how many choices there were. Or the time you ran in for this and realized you also needed that, and oh yeah, that too. Right by your side. Right in your community. Right here for all of it.
I created Dibs because I need a simplified beauty routine. Every product at Dibs is designed to be multitasking, blend beautifully, and just give you this really amazing confidence-boosting glow in minutes. Get $10 off for your first order today at dibsbeauty.com or visit your nearest Ulta store.
Coulter and Potts are on the river in their boat fixing beaver traps.